Welcome to Hack Your Happiness.
I quit a lot of things when I was a teenager. I quit dance, I quit ballet, I quit acting, I quit baseball. All because the whole time I was doing those things, I kept thinking, gosh, I wish I was writing a book instead of doing these things.
Are you a teen or adult looking for more happiness in every day and ways to connect with people in your life?
You've come to the right place. Hack Your Happiness is a podcast designed to bring you the behind the scenes of what brings iconic individuals happiness, plus their life hacks.
I'm Mercedes.
And I'm Anastasia.
And we're the two teens behind Small Bits of Happiness.
We're interviewing Olympic athletes, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and more.
Throughout all of our episodes, you'll find great conversations, hacks that you can take away and try in your life, inspiration, as well as unique and surprising insights. Today, we are speaking with Meg Cabot.
Whenever we were bored, they would say, go read a book. And eventually we ran out of books, so then we would go to the library, and then I kind of read through most of what they had, and I started to write my own books.
New York Times best-selling author
Meg Cabot.
Meg Cabot.
She's published nearly 80 novels. That includes the Princess Diaries series, which were made into 2 hit Disney movies.
If you've ever experienced writer's block, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, it's a struggle. I have to say it's a struggle every day, even though
What are your top 3 tips to find inspiration to follow their passion?
not quitting is part of it, but I also think that you should quit things that you're
What was the experience of watching your book on the big screen?
and just sitting in that audience and seeing my name up on that big screen.
Welcome to Hack Your Happiness. Welcome, Meg.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
We're so excited to have you here, so thank you. I mean, you're such an iconic author. So take us back to the beginning. How did you find your interest in writing?
I always liked to write since I was a kid. My parents were both teachers, so we had books all over the house all the time. And whenever we were bored, they would say, go read a book. And eventually we ran out of books, so then we would go to the library. And then I kind of read through most of what they had at the Monroe County Public Library in Bloomington, Indiana, and I started to write my own books. And that's what happened, and it's something that I've been doing since I was around 7 years old. I think I wrote my first book when I was 7. It didn't get published, just to let you know.
That's okay. You know, it's okay. Now you have like 80 plus.
Exactly.
So you made up for it.
I know. Yeah, I think my skills got a little better after age 7.
I love
sure.
that. I love how, you found your passion at such a young age and you just went with it and you've grown and you've evolved and you've become such an icon in the industry. And I mean, I think that's so inspiring.
Oh, thank you. I always feel like I want people to find their thing, like whatever gives them flow, which is what writing does for me. It just takes me out of this world and puts me into another world. And I love that. It's my favorite thing to do. And I always wish for other people that they could find whatever it is, if it's gardening or reading, maybe my books, or doing what you guys are doing. I think that's the best thing in the world you can do for your mental health and your physical health.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And I'm sure that your journey has been absolutely amazing because you've achieved so much, like Mercedes said. But throughout your journey, what has been your most significant challenge and how did you overcome this?
Well, at first it was getting published. It took me a long time to get published and I kept getting rejected and I didn't know why. And it went on for like a few years. And I was ready to give up. And then my husband told me about his flow, which is playing golf. And he's like, if I gave up playing golf just because people were telling me, oh, you're not good enough, then I wouldn't have this thing that I enjoy doing all the time. So if you love something, don't give it up. Keep trying. And because he said that, I did. And that's why I'm here today. It finally worked.
Oh,
I love that so much. I love, if you love something so much, don't just stop. Keep pushing through, keep searching. And I think that a huge reason of success is that you didn't stop right when it got hard. You kept going because that shows that, you're persistent and it helps you grow. And then eventually you'll lead to success.
yeah, and that having social connections and supportive social connections is so vital to our happiness. And people who also push us in healthy ways, push us to pursue our passion and not quit, not give up. That is so important. So having someone in your life, be it a partner, a parent, a friend, a family member, is so important. And I think that's an incredible story and example of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so with having published so many books, I wonder, have you ever experienced that feeling of writer's block? Obviously you've been writing since you were a child, you have a lot of ideas and that flow, but if you've ever experienced writer's block, how did you overcome that? We just want to quickly say, check out our happiness wellness products designed by us for individuals of all ages to help you bring a small bit of happiness to your home with our tangible tips and tools. Check them out in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I have to say it's a struggle every day. Even though I've written so many books, every day I wake up and I'm like, oh gosh, am I really going to figure out how to get through this book that I'm working on now? Because every single day, there's all sorts of distractions and things you'd rather be doing. Let's face it, even though you love your thing and it gives you flow, laying there and just watching TV or chatting with your friends online is kind of more fun than sitting there and just trying to finish this book. So I have that every single time. And the way that I get through it is rewards. Often, like, I'll say, okay, well, if I get through this page, then I can have a cup of tea or something better, like maybe some candy or what. I mean, that's terrible because you can't do that forever. But the main way that I get through writer's block is when I go to sleep at night, I think about the story that I'm working on and the problems that it's having. And usually that's what's keeping me from moving forward, is that there's some problem that I can't figure out. And I really think that when you get a good night's sleep, if right before you fall asleep, you think about the problem, and when you wake up in the morning, very often you will have the solution to that problem, because your brain, I feel like, works it out in your subconscious while you're sleeping. I can't tell you how. Like, every morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do to make it better. And then you're excited and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. But I think writer's block is one of those things where you have to kind of put the problem on a back burner and not think about it too much. Maybe go for a walk, or in my case, go to sleep. And when you wake up or when you're done, eventually the problem will solve itself.
I love that, because I think that that's such a simple, attainable hack to overcoming, whether it's you don't know how to manage your time, or you don't know the answer to a question, or you don't know how to get started, or you're feeling stuck or stumped or writer's block. Like, just taking a break and taking downtime. And sometimes I feel like that can feel counterintuitive. And you're like, if I want to achieve this and finish this, why am I stopping? But in order to be able to be successful and do it well, it's important to know when to say, hold on, let's take a break and kind of regroup. Exactly. And so I love how you share that, because I think that's something that a lot of teenagers hesitate on.
And I love the sleep hack. I love sleeping too, and so I think, like, any excuse to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna take a nap right now because then it'll give me the answer to the solution. I'll take it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've spoken so much about finding your passion and pursuing it. So what are your top 3 tips for teens to find inspiration to follow their passions?
I do think that not quitting is part of it, but I also think that you should quit things that you're not enjoying, that you're not getting flow from, that are maybe in a way wasting your time, the time that you could be using to find the thing that you really do love. And so I quit a lot of things when I was a teenager. I quit dance, I quit ballet, I quit acting, I quit baseball. All because the whole time I was doing those things, I kept thinking, gosh, I wish I was writing a book instead of doing these things. And I got a lot of pressure from people who were like, I can't believe that you would quit. You were part of the team. But I'm myself, my most important team member, and I have to keep myself happy. So I think a really important thing to do is, if people are giving you a lot of pressure because you want to quit something, it's okay if you find that other thing, because that's the time that you're using to practice the thing that you may end up really loving and doing for the rest of your life, like me. That's just one piece of advice, but I think it's the most important one. And I did like what you said earlier about how you got to be social. I mean, you have to talk to your friends, but you don't have to let your friends read your books. It's totally fine if you want to keep them private. I never let my friends read my books when I was a teenager. That was just a private thing that I did. And I'm kind of glad, because I think if anyone had given me negative input at that point, I probably would have quit this thing that I loved. So if you really, really love something, kind of keep it to yourself and under the radar until you're ready to send it out to the world.
I love that, because to both of your points, like to the passion, keeping your passion kind of to yourself and maybe perfecting it, I think it kind of grows your confidence. And then once you have that confidence in yourself, it's much harder to get knocked down. Like, say you want to create online videos, for example, kind of in a different realm, and you're creating all these videos and you haven't told your friends about it. It's much easier to have like more viewers and other external validation supporting you before you open yourself up to more feedback and opinions, because you can't let other people dictate your passions, but so often that desire for their validation can kind of get in our path. And
and also like let yourself get better, because whenever we start something, whenever we start writing a book or something, or doing something completely brand new that we're not used to doing, we haven't had any experience before, we're not going to be the best at it. And so, you know, we're so open and vulnerable at this point because we know that we're not the best, and we're kind of feeling a little bit like insecure. So kind of building up again like that confidence is so important.
Oh my God, 100%. You're exactly right. And you will have friends who will be supportive. Hopefully you have great supportive friends, but some of your friends, for whatever reason, might not like your books. And so they'll tell you, and you don't need to hear that when you're just starting out and trying to, you know, start something that you're hoping could be a life plan.
Exactly. Like, give yourself time to grow in it and perfect it, and then share that improved version with people that you care about. And additionally, to your point of quitting what you don't love, I think that's so important, because as teenagers, it's important to try things. And I think the reason why we don't often want to try things is because we feel committed and stuck. And so realizing, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try signing up for baseball, I'm going to try out for the school theater production this year. I don't need to do it for all of high school. I don't need to pursue this for years on end. I don't need to do this forever. It is just a temporary path, because maybe that's going to be my flow. Maybe I'm going to love acting. I'm going to love baseball, but maybe I'm not, and that's going to just get me closer, and I'm not committed for life to this.
Exactly. That is such a good point, and I 100% support it. Whenever I see a sign that says quitters never win, I'm like, well, actually they do. So that sign is wrong. Winners do win. They have to quit the right thing, though. Not everything, just the things they don't love.
I love that, and that helps you just kind of narrow down your focus and your vision. So now, onto the note of Princess Diaries. We're huge fans of the series, but when you wrote the series, did you plan or know that it was going to be such a hit?
No, of course not. I hoped, obviously, that it would, but I hope that for every single thing that I write, because I want to share it and see what people think. And I was really surprised when the Princess Diaries was the thing that people seemed to hit on, especially because it was just kind of a project I was working on the side while I was working on adult books as like my main focus of my job. And then I was kind of just writing this diary about a girl whose mom is dating her teacher, because that was happening to me in real life. My mom started going out with one of my teachers, which was horrifying, as you can imagine, seeing your mom with your teacher, like at the holidays. It was awful. So I started writing a book about it, because I think that's really important too, is to, if there's something that's bothering you, write it out. And that's, people talk about journaling. It really does help with your mental health. And writing that book was so beneficial to me. But at the end, I was like, well, I guess I should share this with people because it's kind of funny. And she does have the best, happiest ending. Like, she turns out to be a princess, which did not happen to me at all. It was the ending I would have liked to have happened, but this is okay too.
Oh, that is so cool. So how old were you when you wrote the Princess Diaries?
Embarrassingly, it got published when I was 30. So I was actually a 30-year-old having these terrible feelings of anger that my mom was dating one of my teachers. And he's a great guy. And my mom and he were so happy. But, you know, there's that childish part of you that's like, ew, gross. And so that was how I channeled that. And I got rid of it. So it was great.
I love that.
And it worked out.
People always think that book is about a girl who turns out to be a princess, but to me, that book will always be about a girl whose mom is dating her teacher.
That is so funny, and I love that perspective. I really love how you took something that was kind of not the most optimistic point in your life and turned it into something that is incredible.
Exactly. And, you know, I think definitely becoming an author, you are faced with so many criticisms.
Like we talked about, like you mentioned.
Exactly, from agents, editors, readers, publishers, etc. Have you ever experienced criticism, and what is your top tip for teens to keep going despite this criticism in the realm of life?
100%. And it's really tough. I know how hard it is. And one of the ways that I do it is I just try to focus on what I love and what I'm doing and not pay attention so much to what other people are saying. But one of the problems with doing that is then you don't see the good things either. But it kind of works if you're working on a project and you just keep yourself insulated and just get the work done. and don't pay attention to all the other voices out there, except the ones that matter, like friends you super care about who are maybe trying to express something to you, or in my case, my editor or my agent. Whenever they say something to me, I'm like, okay, I will work on that. But I think it is tough because you really want to just listen to the voices of people who are going to be supportive, but also sometimes they do have valid criticism. So you want to take that, but don't take it personally. Do not take it personally, because that is the way to destruction.
I love that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that definitely listening to specific voices, because especially like with your books, they're on such a international renowned level that it can become overwhelming with the amount of people speaking about it. So listening to, your editor and your agent and just focusing all of your energy on their feedback, knowing that they're not trying to hurt you in any manner, they're just trying to make your work better.
Yeah, and I think what you said about not personalizing it.
Yeah.
Like, not thinking that, oh, they don't like the way I write. They don't like my opinion or my thoughts or my ideas. They don't think I'm creative or whatever it might be, makes it so much harder, because we can't control other people's feedback or perspectives, but we can control how we kind of take it in and kind of how we perceive it. And so perceiving it as a criticism towards your work or towards your project, towards your writing, is so much healthier, I think, than taking it as a criticism towards yourself.
Yes. I think it's really important because, we have things that we don't particularly like. And so we just avoid those things. I don't go online and say bad things about stuff I don't like just because I have my own life. I'm a busy person and I'm concentrating on the things I do love. So sometimes when I do hear some negative feedback, I'm like, oh, that person's clearly having a very bad day, because otherwise I wouldn't have taken the time to write something so negative. I do think a lot of it comes down to Taylor Swift's Shake It Off song, because I do often think about that. I'm like, oh, some people just can't shake it off, but it is important to be able to do that and just concentrate on your own thing.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Just if something bad comes at you, just shake it off.
Exactly. And also something that my parents or our parents would always say when we were younger was focus on the people who like your work, who support it. Focus on the good feedback rather than just thinking about the negative, because there's so many people. There's so many readers.
Yeah, and I think we can't help as a species to totally obsess about the one bad thing that maybe somebody said and just ignore all the hundreds and thousands of really great things that people are saying, and just don't do that. I know it's hard, but just don't do that. Just exactly what you said. Concentrate on the good stuff.
Exactly, because I know I think there's a statistic that for every one negative comment, you need 5 or 6 or something like that positive comment.
Just to get over it.
Yeah, and so it's putting that aside, knowing that and saying, hey, you know what, I'm not going to focus on that one negative criticism when I have all this positive.
Exactly.
So, walk us through when you saw The Princess Diaries. I feel like this is every author's dream. It's you watch your movie, you watch your writing, your ideas on a movie screen. What was the experience of watching your book on the big screen for the first time ever?
That was crazy. It was crazy. And they did make some changes from the original story, but just sitting I went to the premiere in Hollywood. It was super fun. And just sitting in that audience and seeing my name up on that big screen. And then these characters who I created, and a country, Genovia, that I created, seeing it right in front of my eyes was crazy, but so much fun. I had the best time at the premiere, and I, of course, got to meet Julie Andrews and Annie Hathaway, and it was amazing, and it was such a memorable time. But at the same time, I do, hear from people who are upset because they did change the movie a little bit. The story is different, and they want it to be exactly like the book, but I think it's really hard to translate something from written pages up onto a screen, and I was totally happy with how it went, and I'm actually looking forward to, hopefully there's going to be Princess Diaries 3. I read the script, so we're almost there, I know. But, fingers crossed. But we got a lot to get done, I think, before then, but yeah.
That sounds so exciting.
Amazing.
We will be watching that. Of course, we loved the
100%.
first, we love the second movie, and I mean the whole experience. I'm so happy that you had such an incredible experience, because that is just I feel like it's a dream.
Yeah, for sure. And I know oftentimes adaptations are a little bit different, but it is so hard to take a written concept and then make it a movie, especially within a certain time frame where it has to be 2 hours or 90 minutes, and so it's so hard to turn a big book or a 200-page book into something like that.
Oh, yeah, 100%, because every page of a screenplay is 1 minute of screen time. So if you have a 300-page book, you don't want to, I don't want to sit through a 300-minute movie. So you got to condense a little bit so that audiences have a chance to watch the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And so, is there anything, whether it's for teens who are interested in writing or art or sports or sciences, anything, is there anything tangible that you would encourage teens to do to boost their feelings of just inspiration and excitement towards their area of interest?
Yeah, I think it's really important to expose yourself as much as possible to whatever that is. So if it's writing, obviously write all the time, but read too. Like look and see what other people are writing. Obviously, you're going to have your favorite things, and you should not be imitating anyone. But I did write fan fiction. When I was a kid, I wrote so much fan fiction because you're still kind of exploring who you are, and maybe you don't have enough experience in the world to create, your own country. Genovia is a totally fun place that I made up, but I don't know if I was 11, I would have been able to just do that because I don't think I had enough experience, but I could definitely write about other people's worlds that they had created, adult authors that I loved. So I think that that's a really important and fun thing to do, but you have to eventually make your own world and make your own characters and don't just keep writing unless you want to, and that's fine. That's a fine hobby. But I was really excited because I thought I was going to get my Star Wars fan fiction published until my mother said, well, you didn't invent those characters, so maybe you could send them to George Lucas, but you're not going to be able to be the author of somebody else's work. So maybe concentrate on making up your own stuff. So that's what I did.
I love it. And I think that's such an important lesson for teenagers is learn from other people and then incorporate that into a new perspective, a new idea, a new project, a new business, whatever it might be.
I love that. I love that so much. And I love how, you can just build off something else. And while you're building, you're learning those skills. And then afterwards, you're able to transfer them into something new.
A big thing is, I think, this whole concept of progress over perfection. Instead of being 11 or being a teenager and expecting yourself to be able to publish a book or invent a whole new project, accepting the fact that you're not going to be there right off the bat, you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to work up to it. And so it's okay, and you're just taking steps towards that.
Exactly.
Progress. Very good point.
Exactly. So a question that we love to ask everybody, especially, your teenage self who is writing fan fictions, what is one piece of advice that you would love to give to your teenage self?
Don't quit. And I did have some struggles with mental health when I was a teenager. It was really depressing and just for various reasons. But I think that I would have loved to hear somebody say, you know what, it's going to be okay. And it really is. We hear celebrities say that all the time, but it really is going to be okay. Just don't give up. Try to stay positive, but it's okay to be negative. But I think one of the ways that I expressed myself was through my writing, and I wrote some really negative stuff that I've since destroyed, but it helps, like I said, to get out your emotions. So these are all things that I would have told myself back in the day. Just don't give up, and it is going to get better.
Oh, I love that. I especially love what you said about writing your thoughts and feelings down. And you don't need to, share that with other people. It's really good to do that. But if you don't feel like you have someone you can share that with, or you don't feel like you're at a place where you really know how to express that, writing it down is a great step to take. And I've even seen journals that are burn this once you're done with it. It's okay not to read it after or go back to that place, but it's just putting it out on paper kind of takes it out of just being spiraling inside of your head.
And I feel like you can almost rationalize it better because it's down on paper and you're able to see your emotions actually form into something, and you're able to do something instead of just sitting there spiraling.
100%. It totally puts it into perspective too. I think another reason why I wrote the Princess Diaries as a diary was because I always kept a diary, and that's how I vented, was through the stuff that I wrote. But I would not want my real diary to ever get published because, you have these transitory feelings of, for instance, for me, being mad at my mom. But I don't want her to know that because I love her. And it was just a feeling that I was having, and then it was gone. And the ability to write it down and get it out, and then I'm done. I did it. So I think that that's really important. I always, when I talk to kids, I'm like, make sure you keep a diary or a journal. Just hide it and don't share it with the world. It's not the same as putting a TikTok up. This is something that is just for you and no one else is going to see. And there's a reason why.
I love that because it truly does help, like releasing your feelings, and that's such a great way to kind of, first of all, work on your writing skills if that's something that you want to do.
You're still writing.
Exactly. But also just like kind of, I feel like even if you do, like watch yourself grow. Like write down your thoughts and feelings, and then you can see, hey, where was I at a year ago, and how have I changed? What have I learned? And how can I, keep an open mind going forward?
Exactly.
So, what do you do every day that brings you a small bit of happiness?
Well, besides writing, I swim. I like to do a little bit of exercise, walking and swimming. Like I said, it's one way that your brain then can start working through the problems that you're having, maybe with your work. And it just seems like a really good kind of pause, and you get some energy out, and then you're ready to move on. So I do that every day. And talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your loved ones, and just, like you said, social communication is super, super important. So also is a great stress reliever. If you have a problem, try to talk it out. My friends are a little sick of hearing about my books, and I'm like, I don't know what to do in chapter 7. They, oh my God, we can't help you with that. But I think having a few really good friends is also really helpful.
I love that. I love having those amazing friends that you can rely on and have support.
And also the people who push you, like you said with your husband, like having people who listen to you vent or to listen to your challenges and struggles, and they're like, here's comfort to help you feel better, but then here's also maybe a tip or something that maybe you could do to push through this rather than just
and
dwell.
Sometimes like we might be like receiving it and we're like, but I really just wanted to vent, but it's like, it's like kind of what you need to like get to the next step, because sometimes we just need that extra push just to get where we need to go.
Right. And sometimes the push is just like, hey, you need to eat some lunch. Maybe you've got some low blood sugar. And that's always helpful to hear if you need to.
Exactly.
For sure. Sometimes we just need a snack.
Exactly.
Hanger is not for the weak.
No.
Do you have a motivational quote that you love and remember? And if so, why?
Oh my gosh. I have so many. The one my dad told me, it's not very motivational, but it was really good advice. And he said, whenever you're somewhere that has a bathroom, go, because you never know when you're going to find another bathroom. I'm like, I don't know why, but that's the thing I think of the most when somebody asks me if there's a quote that I live by. I'm like, oh my God, he was so right. Because sometimes you're out there and you'll never find another bathroom. So go use the one at the event or the hotel or whatever. Wow, I really brought the room down by talking about bathrooms. But it is true. I also think the whole idea of never quitting is ridiculous. I think we should all quit stuff that's not bringing us joy. Unless, you have to, like, finish high school. I mean, for sure. You should do that. That's probably not. Nobody super loves high school, so don't quit. You'll get through it.
Oh, I love it. And also, I love your quote about the bathrooms. I think that's a good piece of life advice that everyone listening, including the two of us, can take away. Because, like, you want it, and we can, like, use it as a metaphor, like, take the opportunity. Yes. Like, don't be afraid. Don't push it off till later. Like, it's okay to go even if you're not ready. Like, it's going to be all right.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you for putting such a nice spin on my dad's advice, because it is true. Just seize the moment.
Seize the moment. Exactly. That's it. Exactly. And I love your advice about quitting what you're not passionate about, except for school, because that's important.
School will help you get to other places.
School is school, but in other realms,
especially like while you're doing something that you just feel like you're not enjoying, and you're thinking about doing something else that you would enjoy more, I feel like it's a sign of like, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I think it's tough because a lot of times I hear from readers who have then gone out into the work world, and they're like, but I don't feel passionate about my work. And I had a lot of jobs that I didn't feel passionate about, but I knew that the money that I was earning from those jobs was then going to be able to help fuel the thing I was passionate about. So, which was writing. So I took a lot of jobs just to pay the rent until I was actually able to make my living doing what I love. And I think that that's okay too.
I love that, seeing things as like the bigger picture. Like, hey, it's okay if I feel a little trapped in high school. I don't get to, pursue my passion to the fullest. But this is going to help me do what I love in the future, or this extracurricular is going to help me get into XYZ program, and it's going to help me, like seeing things and zooming out rather than just focusing on how much you hate something in the moment. I mean, if you really hate it, maybe consider why you're doing this, and if there is no, greater path that it's going to help you get on, then maybe it's something to drop. But if there is somewhere it's going to lead you to, it might be worth staying.
100%. That is great. Yes.
So, do you have anything exciting coming up? I mean, I know you mentioned the third Princess Diaries, but anything that you would like to share with us, goals, events, anything like that?
So I have a book that's coming out that already came out way long time ago, but it came out under a fake name. Patricia Cabot was the name I wrote romances under, because I didn't want my grandma to find out that I was writing kind of naughty books. But I'm actually good now, and so I'm letting them re-release this book. It's kind of been edited. It has a new forward with my real name, which is something that I would never have done when Grandma was alive, although she found out my secret name, and she was so supportive and the hugest fan. So I should have told her from the beginning, but I'm really excited about this re-release, and I'm hoping it finds a whole new audience. It's kind of a Bridgerton-esque type story, but I wrote it way back, probably at the same time that Julie Quinn was writing the Bridgerton books. We knew each other, and so we were always talking about carriages and corsets and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Well, that is amazing. And I'm so glad that you found support in your grandma as well. I think that is something that sometimes we're scared of what people are going to think about our interests,
especially
and our passions.
Like people that you're close with. I feel like it's easier to let a stranger read the book because you don't really care about what they think. But if it's like a relative or a close friend, you might be like, oh, what if they really don't like it or find it weird?
Yeah, exactly.
Or they think that you're writing about them. That's the thing I always get. Like, they think the story is something that happened to them. Maybe just because I'll accidentally have named a dog like Pickles, and they had a dog named Pickles, so now they think it's about them. That happens to me a lot, and it's not. It's never about them.
Oh no. Yeah, I can imagine that would be kind of stressful. You're like, oh, I hope that this person doesn't read it and then think it's connected to them, even though it definitely is not connected to them. But where can our audience find you if they want to keep up and learn more?
Oh my God, megcabot.com, and I've got Insta and Twitter and all of the things. So just put my name in and we'll see. Just remember, Cabot rhymes with habit. Like, I've got a habit for writing a lot. And it's okay.
I love that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Meg, for joining us.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
And for sharing your story, your insights.
Thank you. You guys are great. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness. And thank you so much to Meg for joining us today.
She is so inspiring, and I absolutely loved hearing about her entire journey of becoming such an iconic author. Anastasia, what was your biggest takeaway?
I think my biggest takeaway is that you need to write down your emotions, because it can make it so much easier to process it and to be able to make sense of everything, especially if it's in a journal, or you could even make a fantasy fiction world. Just any way of getting out what you're feeling on a piece of paper is so beneficial. What about you, Mercedes?
I love that, and one of my biggest takeaways from Meg today was quit what you are not passionate about. Try new things by all means, but if you don't truly love them, it's okay to quit and focus on your passions, because what is the point of living and doing things that we don't find super fulfilling and that bring us so much joy?
If you enjoyed this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness, please leave us a 5-star review from wherever you're listening. It really helps us out and we really appreciate it.
Also, be sure to join our happiness family. It's totally free. We'd love to have you, and that way you'll never miss another episode. You can do that by following Hack Your Happiness on whichever podcast listening platform you're on now.
See you next time!